Hello everyone, and welcome to a brief summary of the events of the Continent of Steel Prelude. This is here to help you guys who haven't caught up or need a little bit of an explanation as to things before diving into Season 1 of the Continent of Steel. The Continent of Steel is a mature-rated Pokemon tabletop campaign taking place in the PMD universe. It uses the Pathfinder 2e system as well as Side Effects custom module, the Pokefinder Exploration Society mod. The campaign is streamed live on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Abra. About 200 years ago, a small fleet of ships across the grass continent set out. Their mission was to discover new lands and opportunities. About 2 months into the voyage at sea and fighting through heavy storms, they found new land. This land was strange to the Pokemon, and under its surface lay a powerful secret. Metals so hard and pure, they are a geological mystery. Now Pokemon from all over flock to this new land, known as the Continent of Steel. The Continent of Steel has 6 players. Azure Artomis, who plays Artomis, a Lucario Guardian. Corey Mizu, who plays Volna, a Tinkaton Barbarian. Side Effect, who plays Tomta, a Snowshrew Exemplar. Kane Moogle, who plays Professor Ignatius Crust, a Magcargo Kineticist. Sass Creations, who plays Saphira, a Venipede Gunslinger. And Ferris Ignis, who plays Ember, a Typhlosion Summoner. Session 0 starts out with the gang meeting up and setting out for the Continent of Steel. They set out from Nova Town, a small port town on the eastern side of the Grass Continent. Through about a month at sea, and fighting through some pirates, as well as rescuing a plucky Wingull, they find themselves landing ashore, the Continent of Steel, getting met by a wonderful friend of the group, Nevin, a Giraffarig. The group makes their way over to the mayor's accommodations, the Town Hall. The Town Hall is a building split into 4 areas as well as a head area at the top. The 4 major guilds of the town sit there: the Keepers of Knowledge, the Iron Guild, the Sword of Zamazenta, and the Souls of Gaia. The 4 leaders of those groups are Abigail Von Wild, an Abra and the head of the Keepers of Knowledge, and assistant to the mayor, Tessa Saffron, one of the leaders in the Souls of Gaia, a spiritual medium, mystic, and cleric, Jack McCandy, the head of the Swords of Zamazenta and sheriff for the town, and finally, Marcus Willard, who is a leader in the Iron Guild. They are an Abra, Frostlass, Weavile, and Hakamo'o, respectfully. Okay, I'm gonna be real. Chat, I'm recording this in like one go. This isn't exactly easy, because my brain doesn't like talking off a script. So I'm gonna do my best here. Thank you for cooperating. They meet also the mayor, who is a bit of an incompetent fool, but has a good heart, and his wife. He is Charles Wildfire and Aurora Wildfire, a Raboot and an Azumarill. The mayor essentially enlists the 6 as an exploration team. They give themselves the name Team Dawnlight before grabbing some explorer badges and heading out to the Grassy Plains. Here they meet with the Grassy Plains Pokemon, and through some fighting, that seems to be how Pokemon on the continent build friendships, they find their way to Clarabelle, the leader of the Grassy Plains Pokemon, a Miltank. Through a bit of an arm wrestling competition and fierce negotiations, they're able to coerce her to come back to the town of Peridot, where the group is set. Once there, Clarabelle, the group, and the mayor all discuss what to do with the lands between territories, trying to figure out the best means forward, as the lands are sacred to Clarabelle and her people, but it's the only fertile land near Peridot that can be farmed effectively. The group succeeds in their negotiations, and the two clans come together to find an agreement that works out for all parties. After this, the mayor sends the group on to a new quest. They head out with the head of the Archaeologists Guild, Ronald Ridge, an Archaeops. The pre-evolution, the tiny bird made of rock and stone. I voice him like I voiced Jerma. I don't know what else I can really give you here. But they head out with him to Manara Village, a little village to the east of Peridot, where a large, strange tree made of petrified wood that has almost turned to steel in its time is growing. As they approach the village, they find that the whole village is inhabited by ghost Pokemon, and eventually find a way to talk to the Elder. Ronald wishes to examine the tree as part of the Archaeologists Guild in trying to figure out more of its geological mysteries and how it survived so long. The various trees growing out of it from all different species, all finding life in this strange place. The Elder explains that even ghost Pokemon seem to have been brought back to life, for being formerly Pokemon from other lives, finding themselves reborn by the magic of this life-giving tree. It rings somewhat familiar to some of our Pokemon, and maybe slightly familiar to you, the viewer, who has a bit more PMD experience than I do. They climb up the tree and eventually battle the Elder as a sign of respect and proving your worth, before Ronald gets an opportunity to do some excavation and digging into the tree, trying to figure some things out with it. Eventually, the group, after having a couple heart-to-hearts and Ember taking some time to discuss Hisui and Typhlosion things with the leader of the ghosts, eventually find their way back. Once back in town, they head on over to the cabaret and find Gojima. Is essentially Majima, but also a Salazzle. She assists the group in finding connections to more dubious networks that may be useful in the future. The group then sits down and discusses with the 4 previous Pokemon, Abigail, Tessa, Jack, Marcus, and the mayor, of course, what to do with the new building in town, and decide to essentially turn it into a head for the Construction Guild, not only leaving the Construction Guild's offices vacant in the mayor's office, but allowing the town to develop roads, pathways, and travel between places that are much more effective, as well as building better things in town now that the guild members and the union members now have a proper place to do business. The mayor gives the group the next orders, essentially a free week where they can go around and adventure with very little consequence. But of course, this is a moment where Artomis, the Lucario, and Ember, the Typhlosion, have a heart-to-heart talking a bit about their past. Artomis was captured at one point, and a strange, mysterious group known as Team Synth had done experiments on them, allowing him to perform a magical transformation, turning him shiny and giving him power in exchange for his sanity. Meanwhile, Ember recounts the times that they worked for a mysterious group known as the Mafia, and the ill work that they had done for that group, and how it came back to bite them in a horrible way. The group continues their adventures and eventually wraps up their chores for the week, finding themselves at the Founding Fair. There, they have a very fun day, and of course eventually see a big show at the Big Top. At the Big Top, unfortunately, the leader of the circus, a Mr. Rhyme, pulls out a strange, mysterious white and red orb and uses it on one of the members of the circus, unknowingly capturing them and submitting them to a strange trance. The group instantly activates, jumping in to save the member of the circus, not realizing not a member of the circus, the ringleader, or the Copperage that was captured were aware of the true intent of the strange orb. It is destroyed. And after a brief discussion and a small court battle, eventually things are ironed out roughly. The last major thing that had happened to the group. before the break between now and Season 1 was the adventure into the mines. Here, the group descends deeper and deeper, finding more and more signs that something was up. In the mines, Pokemon that were normally placid with the miners had become aggressive due to the interference of another group, and as more and more time passes, it's evident that to Ember, these are signs of the Mafia. It gets closer and closer as the group gets further and further down until eventually finding abandoned offices of the Mafia carved into the stone, and notes left behind in a hurry, as it seems the Mafia had quickly left this area to find a new base, their hideout been discovered. But not before finding a note, a hit list. The 4 major characters in the Mare, as well as every member of Team Dawnlight, had a hit put out from them from the Mafia, and the hit was for right now. The group quickly teleports back to town to find an aggressive Caterpie banning a large stone golem. They fight the Caterpie alongside the 4 and eventually save their companions. The Mare appears, running up to essentially give the group a giant congratulations before the Giraffarig, Evan Yelly, reveals his true purpose as an insider agent of the Mafia. He shoots a Psybeam right at the Mare. At that moment, Volna, the Tinkaton, runs forward, taking the hit and saving the Mare's life. Before the scene fades, Ember trying to fight the urge to slay the Caterpie that he knows is deep with the Mafia. The Professor stopping him from making an irreversible decision. At this point, a month passes, and we will rejoin the group. Welcome back to the Continent of Steel.